Fixed mindset, a belief system that suggests a person has a predetermined amount of intelligence, skills, or talents. A growth mindset suggests that one's intelligence can be grown or developed with persistence, effort, and a focus on learning. Persistence, effort, and a focus on learning. In a classroom that is learner-centered, in those that we've seen across the country that are getting the traction and making the case, and right here in Marysville, Ohio, where I see kids' minds on fire, it's because the learning facilitator, i.e. the teacher, has a growth mindset and is trying to instill that in her kids. Here's some characteristics. So anybody want to take some time and write down a few notes on your graphic organizer, fixed versus growth? Carol Dweck is doing research, and there's research, and I know research can be biased, but there are research studies again and again and again where growth mindset is really playing a huge part in learning and kids' minds on fire. I believe in growth mindset, but I live in a fixed mindset world oftentimes. I was raised in a fixed mindset environment. My parents did the best they could and loved me dearly, but they believed certain things because of the time, the generation, my gender. When I went to school, girls didn't have perhaps quite as many choices as maybe they do today. Prejudices and biases and bigotry live in fixed mindset. We believe we know things about groups of people based on characteristics or experiences, stereotypes. Some people would look at, in particular I've heard kids say, I'm not good at that. When I walk into math class, I can't do math. I've heard parents say at parent-teacher conferences, nobody in our family's good at that. Right? Nobody, our family, we don't, no, that's not us. We don't dance. What, are you kidding me? Yet. You don't dance yet. Right? Focus, persistence, and an effort on learning, or focus on learning. This is where we can develop strategies and practices to grow that with our kids, because that's what's important. Fixed versus growth. Fixed versus growth. My favorite, if I have students that are fixed mindset, I want to win. Okay, I want to coach the team that wants to win, don't get me wrong. But that's what's most important. Values the score, values the effort and resilience. Answers questions with what I know there's a right answer. I have to be right. As opposed to moving into a space where I know I'm comfortable with the productive struggle. And that may be a journey to be more comfortable with that. If I lose, I must be a loser. Because when I fail, it's transferred to my identity. Think about your kids in your classroom. And if they have a mindset, and we'll connect this to habits, that actually are going to play into this, if we're going to need to intentionally build these on the kids. Carol's got some big ideas. Love her book. It's not written for a teacher. It's written chapter by chapter. But it's one of those books that I can look at and go right to chapter 5, or I can go to chapter 8, or I can start at chapter 1. And it's got lessons for industry, business, education, family relationships. Potential is unknown, not fixed. All qualities grow through effort. success is about learning, not proving how smart you are. Can you identify times in your classroom where you knew which children had to be the smartest kids in the room? Because that's what their identity was? People with growth mindset don't just seek challenge, they thrive on it. I would tell you as an example at Marysville, it couldn't be any closer than the early college teachers that opted to come into the early college, which was a startup, which was an innovation, which was an unfinished story, which we didn't even know what it was really going to look like. Those were growth mindset people who sought out a challenge. I'm not sure, Gabby, I don't know what this is going to look like. And now we're going to pull our hair out and struggle together, but let's do it. If you're someone who likes, you seek, you may be deeply embedded in growth mindset. Carol's big ideas.
Are you okay?
Studies show, kindergarten, and Nathan, though I know you've seen this before, nearly 100% of the little babies come with a growth mindset. Parents of young children believing they could be successful at school. When do you think the bottom sentence happens? More than half of them begin to believe some kids are smart and some aren't. When do you think? Nathan, don't say. When do you think?
Fifth grade, 5th or 6th grade.
5th or 6th? Preview, second. Nathan, first. High school.
I think the first time they get a grade, whatever that is.
Studies show by 3rd grade. By 3rd grade, students will tell you, that's the smart kid in the class. That's the one we go to for the answers. Oh wait, she or he will solve that problem. I can sit and wait for it. What happens in 3rd grade, oh by the way, in the state of Ohio? Oh, that 3rd grade reading guarantee? That big 3rd grade test? Yeah. So the system plays right into this idea of you have and you have not.
They can't verbalize it.
Think of your own children. Think of your own children. Think of those early learning experiences. How important it is that that teacher helped my youngster feel positive about going to school. Like, don't ruin it for them. They're in kindergarten, for God's sakes. They have 12 years to go, right? Yeah. Interesting. So part of growth mindset is this idea of having grit and that ability to persist and put in the effort. The Penguins, who won the Stanley Cup, I guarantee did not have a spring break type weekend right before the playoffs. Even though they made it as far as they did with 1 game to go, they weren't sitting and resting on their laurels. They weren't taking it easy and letting their egos overwhelm because we are that good, we got this. What do you suppose they were doing? Skating, practicing, running the drills, visualizing, looking at the tapes, trying to psych out the Sharks. They were not sitting, kicked back in their lazy boys with their brew. They weren't.
Now today they are.
Today they are. Today they are. And well deserved. The Cavs are not doing those kinds of behaviors either, I guarantee it. Despite what you may think is, the egos and the immaturity and the trash talking and all that stuff, I guarantee that team are running the drills, having the conversations, because it ain't over yet. And I have to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. Growth mindset and grit. So without a national championship out there at stake, how do we grow this in kids? We've got a couple of surveys for you to take so you understand your own personal grit quotient. And my Maven folks are going to get that this afternoon, and I'm going to refer you back to this because we're a little short on time. We've got a great video that I'm going to put on Schoology for you that talks about this idea of how you build it in kids. But here's what I want you to understand. If we're teaching growth mindset to our kids, we have to begin to teach them the brain, that in fact, you can change your brain. Teachers are brain changers every single day. You shouldn't be the only one that understands that in your classroom. Because we have to have a culture that values persistence and effort. And not a school culture where kids think, well, you had to study, therefore you're not as smart as I am. Because I just got it without studying. Got to begin to shift and change that. One of the ways to do that, and we posted an article on Schoology, the secret to raising smart kids. The secret to raising smart kids starts with an idea of Carol Dweck's, where she has seen it, and it's counterintuitive, where we stop, what, Lori?
Telling kids they're smart and pretty
and creative and talented. We stop, if you want your kids to be smart, stop telling them they're smart. And I want to go, as a parent, are you kidding me? I told my kid that every minute of every day. And I probably still will. Well, of course you will. But you got to focus on the other thing. And what we want to focus on, if you really want that growth mindset to be instilled, is you have to focus on those things on the screen. Bless you. Thank you. Process, strategy, the solution that you came up with, how much you stayed the course. That's what to focus on. And it looks like this in the classroom. Instead of, you're so smart. God, you're so creative. I was in a little second grade classroom in Birmingham a month or so ago, and a little one on a second, she was like just kicking this math app's butt on her iPad, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so good at math. And I thought, oh, fixed mindset, Robin, think of something else to tell this kid. So I almost needed that little flip chart that we used to use with the Bloom's higher level questions, you know, the sentence stem. I needed the cheat sheet, because like, I want to say something to you, but what I want to say is going to be fixed mindset, and I want you to be growth mindset, but I don't know what to say. So I gotta have a friend. All right, instead of saying that, you found a really good way to do that. Look at how you hung in there. I like the way you figured this out. Because you're so smart and beautiful and brilliant. Yeah, no, don't say that. You seemed really energy. You get the shift. You begin to get the shift. Oh, I just smashed a button. Great score. You're really smart. You always know the right answer. How about the shift? Because praise is important. And precision and accuracy is also important. I mean, oftentimes we work with content where there is a right answer. But to focus on the thinking that went into it, you really worked hard. I like the way you tried all kinds of strategies. If we can begin to do that in our K4 space, moving to 5-6, moving to 7-8, then by the time the students get to Kathy and her team at the early college, they will be hardwired to understand learning is something that they are involved in and it doesn't happen to them. The other piece that's around this is this idea of how we have to be intentional with our parents and our families to teach them. But one of the things I can do in my classroom, if I had to teach tomorrow, is I can begin with growth mindset praise. And on Schoology, we have loaded cheat sheets for you. So
I also think it's really important to point out here that when you have a kid who always knows the right answer, and before and even when I was teaching or when I was a student, that's who you're like, you are, that's who you're like, God, I know Ashley's gonna have that answer. I'm gonna look to her, she's gonna answer. It's good to go, but why is Ashley sitting in that class, or why is Ashley working on that? If she knows the right answer right off the bat and knows how to do it, she's not being challenged at all. You know, the kid that always knows the right answer, why are they sitting there with the kids who are struggling to get it? It's not fair on both ends. It's not fair to me if I always know the right answers. I might feel really good about that, but that's where we're not, we almost can't appreciate the struggle because there are kids in there who aren't struggling at all. And so that was always the basis for it. And I wasn't the kid that had the right answer, but there was someone who did. And then they become the smart kids.
And I wait for them because they'll get me off the hook.
Yeah, I don't have to answer because I know Ashley's going to.
The other thing is if they think they're always right, they're not gonna take any risks.
Nope.
Because they don't wanna be wrong. So therefore then, that inhibits their growth too.
Sure.
This is stupid, I don't wanna do it, because
Yes.
as soon as they look at it, they don't necessarily know the answer. And if there's more than one right answer, that drives smart kids nuts. Because they think there's one right answer, because they've always been right.
We've been in STEM schools that we've had parents push back because they'll say, my kid came home and had a question and said that the teacher wouldn't give me the answer. What am I paying you for? Well, you're paying me to help your kid think. And I'm not the person that provides every answer. Right? So it's a cultural shift, Mary. So go back to your card. Go back to your card. Look at your cards that we read. What were you good at? Something that a talent or skill you're good at. Identify what you wrote about how that came to be. What in there about the strategy that you used would support growth mindset? Was there an effort involved in that? Was there a persistence? Was there a focus on learning? Or did you write down, I was born this way, I am special?
My mom said I did it.
I know Lady Gaga says we are, but really, let's grow that out ourselves, okay?